Welcome to Decades of Horror, the classic era.
She's a snake. My sister's a snake.
This is episode 175, recorded April 7th, 2024.
Gruesome Magazine.
Can I have your sister's email, Daphne, so I can send her a clip of that?
sss@sss.com.
Yeah.
All right. My name is Jeff Mohr, and on this podcast, we cover the good, the bad, and maybe even the ugly horror films released since the beginning of time through 1969. In each episode, we'll discuss the monsters, spirits, psychos, and villains that have haunted movie-going audiences since the dawn of film history. With me this week are my incredible co-hosts. Chad is back. Come back, Chad.
Yay!
How are you doing?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I'm doing good, but and it's been a while since I did a podcast. It's been about a month since I was out. So I don't think I took the right drugs to watch this movie. I mean, I felt like I needed to be on something much stronger to understand what was going on. But yeah, I'm doing good. And it's great to be back. It's great to be back. And all the fill-in hosts did such a great job. And I always love it when we have the listeners come in and do shows with us. And Brian's here with us today, and it's going to be cool. Yes. I don't have to do the taglinitis or whatever you called it that I had. Being out. Yeah. It was rough, man. It's a very meticulous operation to get rid of all the taglines I had built up in my pineal gland.
Yeah, so that's where they would be too.
Yeah.
Also with us is Daphne, who's awesome, stupendous, and likable as hell. How you doing, Daphne?
I'm doing really good, and I'm interested to hear what Chad has to say as always. But I'm super excited to talk to you guys about this. I've been looking forward to it.
Right. So we also have a guest with us, Bryan Clark. You may notice that Doc Rotten is not here. He's busy with family stuff. So, so Bryan, it's great to have you back.
Glad to be back. It's always fun to come hang out here.
You got anything you want to plug that you got going on?
The books that I had out last time are still available. The Putting the Ground to Sleep and Other Weird Tales, which is a collection of original short stories. Mm-hmm. I have a novelization of the Gene and Roger Corman produced public domain horror film Beast from Haunted Cave. There's a band called Adversion, who are sort of a cosmic horror space opera symphonic death metal band. If you know Balsagoth, they're kind of like that, but heavier. I did some voiceover work for them. You can go on Bandcamp and look up Sewer Rot Records, and you'll find the Adversion EP, Dejection of the Malign Tabernacle, it's called. And then just recently, the rest of the guys from Attack of the Killer podcast and I got to do a commentary track for the new Scream Factory Blu-ray edition of Orphan.
Cool. That's very cool. And speaking of which, Attack of the Killer podcast, one of the only other people doing horror podcasts that I know of in Iowa. Maybe there's more. I think there might be.
There are many of us. Yeah.
And in fact, the guys from Iowa outnumber the guys from North Carolina this time.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't feel threatened.
That's why you like. You shouldn't.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
That's why you like having me here for some extra Midwestern backup. Huh?
That's right. That's right. Well, that's cool. It's great to have you here. And again, once again, we did short notice. And I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. But I knew Bryan was kind of into this movie, I think, because he was on, was that 2 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
I don't remember.
I bet it has been 2 years. Yeah.
Yokai Monsters Spook
Spook Warfare, which this was released as a double bill with that movie. So it's kind of coming around full circle.
Yep.
Introduced me to what has become one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Yes, and SRS Cinema, the shot on video label that usually does just horror stuff, they've been releasing a lot of Japanese films lately that they've been licensing, and they just put out Takashi Miike's Yokai War, Great Yokai War Guardians. That's what it's called. It's the sequel to the 2005 Great Yokai War, and that's really, really good. So if you need another yokai fix, check that one out.
10. What was it? SRS?
SRS Cinema, yep.
2 years ago. Yep.
Wow.
I had never seen anything like that before. So it was cool. And I went out, I quickly bought the Arrow. Yeah.
They've got a lot of those on Shudder now, too.
The
Yokai Monsters.
I was thinking about this yesterday about how much Daphne liked these, and I was wondering if it was she like looked at that umbrella creature and went cosplay.
I wish.
The only problem is hardly anybody would recognize.
Yeah.
Well, we would find each other eventually. Me and the one other person perhaps would find each other.
Yeah, it'd be me probably.
Chad!
It's raining out. Grab that umbrella. No.
All right. Well, on this podcast, we usually start off with some basic details about the film we're going to discuss, then do first impressions from each of us, do some taglines, and then kind of take off down the road and end with feedback. So our topic today is The Snake Girl and the Silver-Haired Witch. Released in 1968. It is a Noriaki Yuasa is the director. Now, I'm going to ask Bryan to pipe in here on things that I heard, but Kimayuki Hasegawa wrote the screenplay, and on IMDb it says, from the story, Heba Masuni to Hakuhatsuki by Kazuo Kozu, although what I was reading is no such person exists. Did you see that? Have you heard that?
No, I didn't. It's the writer of the manga, the Kazuo Omezu, or also goes by Umez sometimes. So there's some confusion that people think they're two different people, but it's the same guy using a different name.
Yeah, but this one had Kazuo Katsu as story, and then so I don't know. The two different things I would read. They said that person doesn't exist. They don't know how that name got on there.
I think they said it was only on the American, only listed in the American credits. Yeah.
Like a misinterpretation, maybe.
American credits are notorious for getting Japanese filmmakers' names wrong or making up people. Like a lot of the Showa era Godzilla movies are credited to Inoshiro Honda in the American versions instead of Ishiro, that kind of thing. So,
yeah.
All right, and you know what? I'm just going to ask you. You want to take these names here for the cast? Are you more comfortable with them, or I can?
Sure, yeah.
Work through.
I've got Yuko Hamada, Sachiku Maguro. Yeah, this is very small, so I'm having a hard time reading it on my screen. Yachi Matsui, Mayumi Takahashi, Sei Hirazumi, Yoshiro Kirahara, and Kuniko Miyake.
Excellent. And this is it a Daiei film?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I was pronouncing that right.
Daiei.
Released January 1st, 1968. Actually, I think I saw something somewhere else that said December 1968. But anyway, AKA Hebi Musume to Hakuhatsuma. That's the original title, I assume, in Japanese. The synopsis: two rival sisters are on less than good terms. However, when an evil creature makes an appearance, they have to overlook their differences and join forces to battle it.
It's such a weird synopsis.
Yeah, it doesn't really.
It's
well,
so
the original
misleading.
stuff. I added part of it out because it said two shape-shifting sisters are rivals, and I'm like, what? There's not two. That's not true. So, anyway, yeah, that's sort of. Now, the picture here is there's a hole in the ceiling of the little girl's bedroom, and somebody's looking through, and then at some point later in the film, she's the one looking through.
Yep.
But as I understand it, that's kind of a trait of both the director and the writer of the manga.
What, peeping Toms?
Eyes.
Yeah. Eyes.
We're both peeping Toms.
All kinds of stuff, and spirals and things like that. So anyway, let's cut that out. So moving forward, you gotta love something called The Snake Girl and the Silver-Haired Witch. When you type that into IMDb, there are no other options. In fact, all the farther you got to go is The Snake Girl, and that's the top one on the list. So, this is Daphne's pick. So, Daphne, what are your first impressions? I think I know some of the story of this, but when did you first watch this? And
I first watched it a few weeks ago. Before I picked it, it's been on my radar for a while, but I never thought to pick it because doesn't pop off into my memory. But then I saw it on Shudder, so I was like, yes, I'm going to watch it. And then my first impressions were within the first few minutes. I was all in. I mean, it has a weird Catholic nun lady giving an orphan back to its parent. It has a parents and orphans and weird story and absent parents and black and white atmosphere. I love stories that are, the more that I kind of think about horror and the movies I like, I've always been drawn to story. When I was a kid, I really liked stories that about young people who were kind of in dangerous situations, whether it was a fantasy danger or a real life danger, because I felt like I didn't like stories or movies where they tried to say that everything was great in everybody's lives. I felt like it didn't tell the stories of kids who had any sort of trauma or weird things in their lives. And then as an adult, I find that I'm really attracted to stories, same kind of thing, but from the kid's perspective. I want to see more of the young person's perspective, or the person that you're not expecting to be the hero and stuff like that. And I immediately fell in love with Sayuri, and I thought it was great. I loved it. From, I'd say, just a few minutes in, I thought it was fantastic. It was my initial reaction.
Cool. All right. I'm glad you picked it. So, Bryan, I'll let you go next, our guest here. And sort of, well, anyway, the one that turned us on to yokai.
This was one I was not familiar with until Arrow put the Blu-ray out. I'd not heard of it. It was never available in the States otherwise. But so that was a year and a half-ish ago, I think, maybe, that this Blu-ray came out. So I bought it right away because I love Noriaki Yuasa. I'm a huge Gamera fan. So I was excited to see him do something that didn't involve a giant flying turtle, and bought this right away. I was not expecting the turn to realism at the end. I was kind of expecting more of a straight up fairy tale and not so much of a Scooby-Doo kind of thing. But I still really like the movie. I mean, the cinematography is beautiful. Right from the opening shots of, like, if you're going to have your opening credits scroll over a Protoceratops skeleton in a creepy mad scientist lab, yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah. All right. add, sir? How about you?
Jeff, you know damn well I don't watch movies like this.
That's why you're on this podcast.
Yeah.
So you,
all right. Yeah.
To watch movies like
so this is the first time I've watched it. And but here's the thing. I love Japanese horror and Japanese animation and Japanese manga. I love it because Japanese don't give a shit. Whatever they'll put whatever on in there, just no matter how outlandish it might be or how weird it is to us here in America, reading stuff like that or watching stuff like that. And that's what I love about it. It doesn't have to make sense a lot of times. And so this this one doesn't make that much sense to me as far as the premise goes and stuff like that. But the relationship with the two little sisters is what really drags you in and pulls you in. And you don't really know you're watching a mystery until it gets to the end, you know. And if it wasn't for this damn kid, I would have gotten away with it too, type of thing. Like Brian said, the Scooby-Doo ending. But yeah, you did expect some kind of supernatural ending or something like that was going on, and especially with, and I could have missed a few things, but how did they ever explain the scales on her back and stuff like that, or did they? On
I think the explanation is don't worry about it.
See, exactly. That's what I've been saying. And but anything to push that along that she's a snake. But yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. It was really good. I did enjoy what was the little girl's name? Sayuri, yeah. Sayuri. Enjoyed her a lot. I thought she was fantastic in it. And just a great acting job by her, and her reactions and everything toward her sister, her parents, and even Mrs. Shinji there in the house with them was just she did an awesome job, and I think she just carried the whole movie on her shoulders, and I loved it. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, well, good. So I first heard about this too at about the same time that we did this with Brian, and I think it was 2 years ago that Yokai Monster box set I think came out from Arrow right then, or maybe a couple months before. So I don't know if I assume this came out at the same time, but maybe it was staggered a little. But I didn't watch it until now. Well, that's not true. I watched it once on Shudder. And I think it must have been the mood or something, or maybe I was doing something else, and I just couldn't get into it. But when I watched it this time, I loved it, and mostly because, you know, we watch so many, movies in general, but also horror movies that it's hard to surprise us. The only thing that some people might not like about this is some of the effects are pretty. I'll just say it. The spiders were pretty iffy, but you know, was it a dream or is it a fairy tale or what is it? So, you know, I'm willing to go with it there. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and the story is, they sort of release the information sort of backwards. I felt like, you know, because they say certain things at the beginning that don't make sense about the little girl and when her dad picks her up, and then later on you find out what the true story is. Anyway, I liked it a lot. I loved it. I loved the silver-haired witch. I loved the snake girl, and the ending is just balls out crazy. I thought it's just about 10 or 15 minutes of great action stuff. All right. So now is
you gonna let the cat talk or what?
Yeah, shoe cat.
Now time for
Gruesome Magazine.
Gruesome Magazine. It's now time for
What is going on here?
Taglines with Chad.
What is happening around here? All right.
I couldn't find any taglines for this one, so.
Oh my God. I just clicked on it and I went, thank you. Thank you.
And that's been.
That would have been a good joke if you didn't ruin it with the wrong music at the beginning.
Listen, I thought he brought up the Gruesome Magazine logo again to cut me off while I was shooing the cat away from the.
Oh no! You know, the cat,
I wanted to hear what the cat had to say about the movie.
Bill Mulligan's got tails waving in his face the whole time.
We were used to that.
Anyway, so let's move on from there. I got a ton of stuff, more than we really need here, but the posters, I love Japanese posters. And I'm not sure, do I have this? Yeah, that will work. I like this one a lot. It's gruesome. It's one of those typical sort of montage ones.
Montage.
Silver-haired witch is strangling our hero, our lead. And then another version, kind of, this is quite a bit different, but
looks like a calendar, one of those calendars they give you.
Yeah.
That scroll down. The
bank calendar.
So I like that one better. I prefer painted movie posters. So yeah, I'm a sucker for anything with a cool monster painted on it.
Well, that top, the witch on the top is pretty cool. And not entirely certain what this is. You were telling me something, Brian. Did you want to go over that again?
Yeah, that looks like a book cover, but yeah, we were talking before we started about the different types of posters. So in Japanese film studios would send movies out to their theater chains, because each studio would, the Toho Studios movies would play in Toho theaters, Daiei movies would play in Daiei theaters, so on and so forth. But there'd be movie houses in small rural towns that were not affiliated with these studios, but the studios wouldn't go to the expense of mailing out promotional materials for, they wouldn't get any lobby cards or posters or anything. So there's sort of a secondary movie poster industry called country posters, where these theaters would just hire some local artist to bash up a poster, an unofficial poster for them that they could put out in front to advertise the movies. So there's quite a big collector's market for those posters. But yeah, that I don't know if that's,
it looks like
what that is.
Manga.
It does. Yeah. That's kind of what I was
That's
thinking.
what I wondered, if it wasn't a cover from a,
maybe thrown together before Photoshop was invented.
And let's see. Then there's various versions where they have taken a poster and added the English title to it. And that witch is different.
Yeah, that looks like it's
it's kind of weird to use
from the manga.
It does.
That looks like it's from the manga. Yeah.
Yeah, matched with the a picture from the movie. And here's another one they basically cropped part of the Japanese poster and threw that on top. The snake girl and the silver-haired witch. And these are the Arrow Blu-ray had a reversible sleeve or cover for the case. So the top one is the one that comes in, and then if you take it out and flip it around, you get the bottom one. What else do I have here? Well, let's stop there. So, and again, let's talk about this. The director is Noriaki Yuasa, and maybe you guys know this, but I didn't. I'm totally stupid about this stuff. But let's talk about him. Anybody do any research or find anything out about him? Mainly known for Gamera and he did a lot of TV after that.
I knew he did Gamera. I didn't know he was involved with Ultraman at all.
Yeah, Ultraman 80. He directed 20-some episodes of that.
And I think he did maybe special effects before he became a director, or was involved in that somehow.
Mm-hmm. Typically, Japanese movies, the special effects movies like Gamera, Godzilla, that kind of thing, there would be the main director, say Ishiro Honda for Godzilla, who would direct all the human action, and then you'd have an Eiji Tsuburaya, who was who could do the special effects, but also directed those sequences. So they were two separate things. With the Gamera movies, Noriaki Yuasa did all of it, which is why, like, Gamera versus Gauss, for example, is my favorite one. There's some scenes in that where the monster action is cut back and forth with the human action in a way that is a lot more blended, a lot better, a little more seamless than even some of the best Godzilla stuff, because there was just one guy handling all of the directing. So
cool.
Yeah, I saw that. And I read a bunch about him, that he really was, I think he was a child in World War II. And shortly afterwards, so during World War II, they were preached this regimental, militaristic type of life and philosophy. And afterwards, that was sort of preached more communism and different. And he felt like that was really two-faced, and he disliked being around adults because of that. He much preferred being around children, and that's why he liked Gamera. He liked later as it got more childlike. I don't know if anybody had you read
very much.
Did you read that at all, Brad?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's that, and his dad was unfaithful to his mom, and thought he was a jerk about that, and just always had this idea of, like, adults were untrustworthy, that they were, like you said, two-faced, just kind of. So he preferred children, and that's, he made children's entertainment because of that. There's the dad in this movie, Yoshiro Kidahara, has a lot of great tokusatsu credits to his name, and one of them is Gamera versus Gauss. He was in several Gamera movies, and his character in Gamera versus Gauss is a scientist who is, in monster movies, you always have that scene where the scientist explains what the monster is, right? And in Gamera versus Gauss, everyone's asking him, what is it? What is it? And he goes, I don't know, let's just call it a monster. It's sort of Yuasa's mission statement of, adults don't matter. No one's here to listen to the adults prattle on. Let's just ignore that and get to the children and the monsters and all that kind of stuff. So
the commentary on the Arrow Blu-ray is excellent, and the historian that does the commentary talks about how he feels about adults, and kind of why. I felt very insightfully, and kind of helped you kind of tease out maybe how that is played out in his, not just his Gamera movies, but also this movie. And I think does a really good job of kind of expressing what it's like to watch a movie as a young person, as a kid, or just navigate life as a kid. And I really appreciated the commentary. I'd recommend anybody who is actually interested in this movie listen to the commentary on the DVD if you can.
Yeah, David Callett knows his stuff. His books are really good. His commentaries are always great. And that also, I think, lends to the weirdness of this movie, the dream sequences, the fantasy stuff, where it feels like you don't always know what's going on, because Sayuri's kind of an unreliable narrator, because it's being told as a kid sees the world, right? So to kids, monsters are real. Therefore, the monster still, the silver-haired witch and her sister turning into a snake is presented as real to us, because we're supposed to be in the mindset of a young child, not watching it as, jaded adults who think it's all funny.
Right. And I think he does an excellent job of not just presenting it from a kid's perspective, but for me anyways, surrendering to that kid's perspective, not just being like, oh, it's, unreliable narrator or something like that. It's like I feel like I go back to being a kid and understand what it's like being a kid when it's hard to know what's happening in this adult world. And I also love I just love how the director and I started reading I started reading Reptilia and learning a little bit about the manga author, and I just really liked the blend of fantasy and reality that's in there, and it's not clear what's real, what's not real. And I really liked, and I thought that he succeeded in getting that feel into the movie. I really like stories like that, and I don't know as much as you guys know about Gamera and the monster stuff, but I really like the story and kind of how he does that. And then to hear kind of some things to look for from his movies, from his Gamera movies, I feel like that makes me appreciate them a little bit more too, instead of just kind of enjoying it for the monsters.
Yeah, I remember a comment from the about his father, that his
father's a dick.
Yeah. Well, he's Noriaki Yuasa starts out being an actor, but he doesn't want to be an actor because his father was a dick and an actor, and he didn't just think he's a dick and an actor. It was like also actors
he's a
are
dick
dicks
because
too.
He's an actor.
He's an actor. All actors are dicks.
And that ties into the thing about not trusting adults, though, because it's technically an actor's job is to lie, and that was his issues with trust would make sense with that. But Yuasa was so childlike all through his life. I didn't get to go to this one. It was before I started going, but he came to G-Fest, the kaiju convention in Chicago, one year, just a few years before he passed. And even at that age, when people would come up to him, I've heard stories of people coming up to him with their very young children, 4 and 5 year old little kids who were excited to see all these monsters. He would get down on the floor and crawl around with them and pretend to be a monster and, roar with them and pose and all this kind of stuff, just because, he was like that through his whole life. He was just a delightful guy.
Yeah. So yeah, it's fun, and I need to go watch that stuff. I did notice that Ultraman 80 is on Tubi. If anybody's interested in some of his other direction. So, and the other thing I like, you mentioned the commentary, that one of the things they do is they talk a lot about the history of horror movies in Japan and where these legends come from, and how there's lots of snakes, and there's a lot of images that recur, like snakes and snakes turning into swords, or swords turning into snakes, and snake women, and how there's lots of monsters, but most of the other monsters are men, but the snakes are always women. The snake girl, the snake women, the snake lady, etc. So it was a really interesting commentary, I thought, following through on all these folk tales and general themes that flow through Japanese horror, going clear back to silent films. So the manga artist Katsuo Umezu actually had a cameo in the film. He was the cab driver.
That's so cool.
But he also, you may have noticed, he liked spirals in all the dream sequences. And so apparently he liked them so much, this was how he lived. The center picture, he's crouched in the middle of that room. And apparently that's his house, at least anyway. On the website I found, it had a story about him. Little face on the sort of silo type tower on this barn looking. Anyway,
apparently there's a love for spirals in the culture. There's movies based on spirals, other manga that are based on spirals and stuff like that. So I wonder what the correlation is.
Uzumaki by Junji Ito is probably the big one that you're thinking of, which is then also turned into a movie. And I think it's getting remade as a movie, another movie or a TV series or something coming up about that. But and Ito says Umezu was a big influence on him. And I mean, anyone who's making horror comics in Japan is influenced by this guy, because his first one was published in 1955, and that set off this huge boom of horror comics. Over here, at the same time we were having creepy and eerie, all the EC Comics type stuff. In Japan, it was this kind of stuff. And it kind of makes me wonder if, because of all the stripes and the spirals and things, if he isn't a bit of an influence on Tim Burton's visual style as well.
Maybe. Yeah.
I couldn't find anything that verified that, but it certainly looks Tim Burton, or rather, I should say, Tim Burton looks Umezu-y.
Yeah.
Didn't he publish like when he was 16 or something like that? Or...
Yeah, he was real young when the first one came out.
I think he was like 18 or something like that. I think he was in high school.
But yeah, I saw him referenced as sort of the father of horror manga.
And that was another awesome thing about this movie is that I didn't know anything about him. And Junji Ito is one of I love Junji Ito manga. And so to find another one and to be able to get my hands on Reptilia and see this movie, this female perspective, the story from these two girls, these siblings, and then read some of Umezu's stuff, and it is just awesome. I love it. It actually, it's just made me so happy.
Well, he is very female centric, right? I mean, that's
in this story
what I read.
That's
even in general as a on the average, I guess.
Well, I've only read Reptilia, so I don't know.
Yeah, so there's a copy of Reptilia, the English edition. So where did you find that? Because that's not.
I found it online. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. With the other cover, with the American horror, cover.
The what?
The American, the IDW,
Well, and the top one, I think, from what I read, the original one was a series, right? So that's probably one cover, I'm assuming, before it got boxed up into a.
Yeah, kind of like I said, this movie just kind of sent me down a rabbit hole of wonderfulness, and and the research. Like when you're doing research, all you do is learn about how much you don't know about something and how much more you want to know. So, and it's kind of more, that's why another reason why I was really excited Bryan was going to be here to get some insights and information, because I'm slowly learning about some of the other series that he did and kind of what he did, why it was such a radical kind of new thing, because women took on this different role in his manga than they hadn't before. And it's just really exciting. So it's going to be interesting to find more information on him that I can understand and educate myself on.
So here's some pages from the
creepy.
He is. And let me ask you, was he the first guy to do the big eyes, or was that always in the Japanese culture?
Some manga was drawn more realistically, but for the most part, it's been like this. I think Bryan might know better than I would.
I don't read a ton of manga, but I think that style's kind of always been there. Like you said, I don't think he was the first one to do that, but
I think he actually did. The fact that he kind of put that already existing style, what he did to it, I felt like kind of, my impression was that it kind of turned it on its head a little bit. It used some of the girliness of it, the big eyes, the sweetness, and put a horror spin on it. At least that's kind of what I'm, it seems to be when it
makes it a little about it. Creepier and more horrific. I think with this, like comics like Akira or manga like Akira was more realistically drawn, but stuff like this that had the more fantastical stuff in it, like this, I think it gives it, like I said, a creepier, a scarier look.
Yeah, I agree that, and any of the anime that has this kind of more, like you said, unrealistic, I find that gets the emotion and the evilness of a character or a goodness of a character, or the grotesqueness of something in the story. It's another way to express that, that kind of hits you on a different level, maybe more subconsciously. And so I don't know. And the other thing about he uses so much, and I'm not a comic or manga expert at all, but just looking through this, there's so much black in, and big chunks of ink that, in some of the cells, or if that's what you call them, that it's just, I don't know. I think it's really cool and creepy and dark. And
yeah, I saw a quote of his where he said the people that make black ink loved him. He kept him in business. I don't know.
If you look up in like the top right hand corner up there, it goes back to the cutie or cutie face, and then the bottom left corner of that same page, it's still big eyes and still those type of features, but contorted to where it looks disturbing and scary.
Very influential. And then the last, I just threw this other one on because I read that one of his things was how to bring action into manga, and that this was an example that was shown when they were talking about that.
The movement, his drawings and stuff.
Very good.
All right. Well, let's. It's really cool, and I guess both of these guys, Yuasa and Umesu, had a lot of similarities in terms of their style and the way they looked at the world. Well, these are our what I would say is our two leads, I guess. Yeah. And there's a stark difference between the way they look. She's let's see, what is her name? Yachi Matsui, and I think she didn't do anything else. Is that?
Yeah, she did a few things as a kid and then went on to be a professional bowler.
Yes. Yeah. Oh. I love it. She was so good beyond her years. I mean,
she's so sweet and brave and hopeful. Yeah.
And she was 10, I think, when this was.
Yeah.
So those are the top two pictures, her just being that super sweet little girl. And no matter what comes her way, she finds a way to be positive about it, doesn't she? It's like she has a way of
go sleep. You sleep in the attic, and she's like, "Okay, well, at least I'll still be in the same house as you, Mom."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also
she didn't have. This was her dream come true.
Yeah,
she was from.
She always looked for the good and everything, though. That's what I like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she says. She also has the ability to, which a lot of adults apparently don't have, to look at things from the other person's point of view. Because she said something about, I bet she's so, huh? Yeah.
Empathy.
Yes. And that would be the word. That's the word. So when her father comes, they call her to the orphanage office, and her father comes to pick her up, and they tell her, "This is your real father." And she has no idea who this is. He takes her home. Yes. And there's some weird goings on. There's always this scrabbling and rustling noise and stuff. And
Your mom had an accident, so she may be a little weird.
Oh yeah, she doesn't remember stuff so good, and
now
Dad's got to go to Africa. What?
Yeah,
got an accident, all right.
Dad's there for less than a day and says, "I got to go," and he's gone for the rest of the movie, except for the little ceremony they have at the end. So I didn't do any pictures of him, although I know he has been in some Gamera movies. But then they start talking about this other girl that's her sister, and they originally said her mother died. When she's in the orphanage, she's there because her mother died, right? Mm-hmm. That's what they say that. But it isn't until way later that we found out what really happened is they were switched at birth, right? And the mother of Tamami, who is the crazy sister that's living upstairs, that they apparently put up there so that their real daughter could have the nice room. I don't know. That was
the dad doesn't even know that she's up there.
Oh, that's right. How does she? Because they sent her off because she was too weird. Yeah.
She was obsessed with snakes, I think, or something, and
apparently she was at the same school. Only they never met because they were in different grades. I don't know. So there's a lot of stuff going on here that's kind of hard to pick up on, at least for my brain.
No, doesn't make sense, but yeah.
But then they did DNA, I guess, and they find out she's their real daughter, and Tamami, and then they adopt Tamami, I guess, because her mother is dead, and she's never known her real mother, or her biological mother, I should say. So anyway, that's crazy. So the bottom picture is Tamami, who is Mayumi Takahashi, and I don't think she did anything else either, did she?
I don't think so.
Oh, she's got one other credit, or no, she does have a few other credits in IMDb, but they're all before this. Wow, she must have been like.
So it's traumatized her so much that she quit acting.
Yes.
Am I gonna have to peel my face off for this movie?
That was something that I really liked. I love that you could tell that her face wasn't right.
Right.
But they didn't make a big deal out of it, so you kind of went, but they didn't hide it either. I really liked that.
Yeah, they made the makeup line obvious, but just kind of let you
something's weird. Yeah.
Until you see her peeling it off.
Yep.
I thought she was great too. I thought both these two actors were wonderful.
She does. She plays a really sour disposition for most of the movie.
Yeah. But then but she has an arc, and I believe it when she chooses to, be with her sister or defend her sister, whatever.
Yeah, Sayuri doesn't really have an arc. She's just always the same and is battling for good, right? But Tamami,
I mean, she starts out so sweet. If she had an arc, she would turn evil by the end of it. So you can't really have her be an arc because she's already sort of this perfect innocent.
Yeah,
which would have been cool.
Right? They switch places and she turns into this.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good idea.
At the end, it's like, you fell for my crafty scheme.
Right. We were switched, but then we were switched back. You're really the bad one.
So the only other people we have that's in the top picture is the director of the orphanage, Kaneko Miyake, who has a very long career.
This character, I mean, talk about you can't trust adults. It's like she told a lie, and then later on she told I mean, it's like,
she's a terrible.
Yeah, it's just like, what?
She's no Sally
doing.
Right.
It's like, you knew all this stuff.
Well, the actress has 169 credits. So anyway, I agree. And then in the picture in the middle is her who she calls her brother.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see which one. Is that Sai Hirozumi?
Say Hirozumi, yep.
Say Hirozumi. And he's a really nice guy and offers to help, but in the end, I guess what he does is saves her mother. Otherwise he doesn't. I don't know that he does anything too big an effect on the outcome.
Big brother. Oh, go ahead, Daphne. Sorry.
He does save her. He does save her off the scaffolding. Yeah, but yeah.
I was going to say he was to mommy. He started her thinking about not murdering them. I think that conversation he had with her.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't do it.
True.
He didn't really save anybody, but he did play a role as that goes.
Well, and he's the only one that'll believe her too.
He's the only one she can trust
about
and
the
believe.
snake. He's like, this sounds pretty crazy, but I know you're not a liar. And I'm like, what?
What were you going to say, Brian?
Strange.
That big brother character, that was a pretty big trope in this time period as a character in movies and things, because Sayuri she's not exactly this because her mom's around, but she's indisposed, so she's not there. But after World War II, Japan had this huge economic boom and went through a lot of industrialization between the 50s to the 70s, and which resulted in a lot of women leaving the home and joining the workforce for the first time, which created this whole several generations of kagiko, which translates to something kind of like key child. It's basically the Japanese version of a latchkey kid, right? So she is kind of like the character of Ichiro in Godzilla's Revenge, for example, where it's this young child pretty much left to raise themselves because their parents were always gone working. It's like, the dad just disappears after the inciting incident in the movie, and you don't see him again till the end. And so she, like Ichiro, just has her imagination to keep her company, which again goes back to all the fantasy elements and stuff. So another type of character that became popular, this big brother character, was this sort of fantasy of these children having someone to look up to who would listen to them, who would believe them, who would take care of them. And that's, kind of filling the void of their parents. So they'd be these sort of, and that's why he's the only one who believes her and stuff, because they were always these sort of perfect older role model type figures, which is also how you wind up with characters like the swinging bachelors who build Jet Jaguar in Godzilla versus Megalon. They're sort of a version of that type of character too.
I feel like I must relate to this movie because coming from Gen X, of kind of like being home by myself a lot, and also when you were describing him, he's not the perfect trusting adult, but it makes me think. No, that I'm thinking of the character in oh my gosh, Phantasm, the older brother in Phantasm. He's not totally perfect like the trope you're talking about, but it just made me think of him.
Jody,
you were describing that Jody,
Jody,
this actor has 265 credits in IMDb.
He's in a lot of stuff. He's in a few Ultraman series, Return of Daimajin, the Zatoichi TV series.
He was
he's in Shin Godzilla.
Chairman of the Department of Agriculture or something. I like. Anyway, his profile picture he's completely bald, which I admire. He's not worried.
No reason to be.
All right. Well, so we also have Well, and then I forgot. In that bottom picture, they're with their mom, and she's making them shake to sort of like get along. Is this the first introduction? I'm not sure, but boy, the look on Tamami's faces.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna kill you later.
Look at those hands. Yes. They look so yummy.
Mm-hmm. I know. So soft and good. All right. So here we got, right off the bat, we got snakes.
Yeah.
At first, a snake kills the maid in the snake lab, I guess, or is he a herpetologist? What?
The snake melting lab.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Put a lock on the door, for crying out loud.
Right, yeah. If you got a tank of acid in your office, maybe you don't let the kids go play in there.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't get better than a tank of acid. That's
you
awesome.
can just go.
Or a water spigot full of acid, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to cup of acid.
Hold on, I'm going to go run me a gallon full of acid. I'll be right back.
The scene where she melts the snake, and then that pretty ghastly thing with the frog, too. You were talking earlier, Chad, about how different it was. You know, this is a children's film from Japan, looks so different. They had different standards for things that were acceptable. So you have this, thank God it was fake, I'm pretty sure, in this one, but you know, a lot of movies like this have pretty graphic violence and sometimes even real animal violence in something that is intended to be entertainment for young children.
Where she ripped the frog in half.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, I was going to say, and what happened to the frog? Yeah.
My first thought that popped into my head was that's what it looked like when I had to dissect one in class in high school.
But that scene where
curly guts.
Well, they grabbed its legs and pulled it apart, and that made me think of Terrifier. Sorry.
There's no hacksaw involved.
That scene where
there's no frogs in Terrifier, but
yeah. The scene where she melts the snake kind of reminded me of the scene in the original Godzilla where Serizawa is showing Emiko demonstrating the oxygen destroyer, and he sets it off in that fish tank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
kind of had the same vibe.
Well, yeah. So it's are frogs like a common thing? Because we just did H-Man and they dissolved a frog.
Like, two frogs.
Yeah.
I forget what it is, but there is some cultural significance with frogs too, because there's a great movie called The Magic Serpent, which just came out on a Shout Factory Blu-ray set. And one of the monsters is a giant frog. And I know I cannot remember off the top of my head what it is, but there's some specific reason why it's a frog.
And Cabin in the Woods, there was Japan was saved because they turned something into a frog or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
I gotta check that out. That just seemed weird. And then, you know, we're giving you the preferred bedroom in the house, apparently. We don't know about the sister, right? But the first night she's looking up, there's a hole up in the ceiling, and there's a snake coming down through the hole. Oh my God. And it lands on it crawls over her, lands on the bed. She runs and gets the housekeeper, Shige, and which is the wrong person to tell, we find out later. And she comes back. What? There's no snake there. What are you talking about? You're just having a nightmare. It's the old you're having a nightmare. You're dreaming. Oh, you're just your imagination.
Lying.
Yeah. But oh my God, if I was laying in bed and looked up and a snake was coming through a hole in the ceiling. Even Christmas.
Oh
it's like the horror version of the hole in the shower at Porky's.
God, yes.
Well, that's pretty horrifying too.
So which would you rather have if you woke up in the middle of the night and saw something coming through a hole in your ceiling? Would you prefer it was a snake or a wiener?
I'd be like, feet don't fail me now.
I'll take it. I'll take a snake.
I'm going with the snake. Yeah.
I've seen enough wieners coming through holes in the wall.
All right. Started a whole subgenre of porn, I think.
It's probably already there.
Yeah. So here she is again telling the wrong person. Sir Sayuri is telling Shige, my sister is a snake. which nobody believes. And now here we see these pictures. Now, is she a snake?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't know if she's dreaming or if this is really happening, or. And
we see the entire movie through her eyes, except for what did these say? 2 scenes, like the opening scene when the maid dies, and
when Big Brother goes to talk to the
when the brother goes to talk to the.
I think. Sorry. I don't think she's a snake. I think it's all in Sayuri's head, and I think. You were asking earlier about how do you explain the scales on her back? Maybe she just has eczema.
I like not knowing.
Perfectly shaped eczema.
Yeah.
Well, but again, it's seen through the lens of the childlike. So, that's what it would be in real life. But because Sayuri has all this horror stuff wrapped up in her head already, and and Tamami is obsessed with snakes, so she just sort of mentally pastes that over the way she sees it all.
Yeah. That was something also that when I was doing some research, some of the people who were talking about, I guess, reviewing or talking about this movie, some people really, I thought it was interesting because some people really, that was a big criticism of the movie, was that, you couldn't explain these loose ends or needing to be able to say, was it reality or not reality? Which I totally get, because there's so many questions or things that just plain don't make sense or contradictions. But for some reason, I like I was saying before, I don't need to know. I can be like, oh yeah, she's just imagining it, or whatever. It's her perspective. It's her story. I'll accept her story, whether I can explain it or not. And I love when I get into a story to that point that I'll just accept this is this person's story, and I'm just going to go with it.
And the way it all ended up, it makes sense that it was all sort of in her head a little bit.
Right, exactly. She's been through this traumatic experience. She's a kid. She doesn't know what's real, what's not real, what's scientifically proven, what's not scientifically proven. She's just,
which still wouldn't explain why she told her she wanted to eat her hands because they were so soft. But
yeah,
it's just you take one doll
so
out,
weird
and
about
another one inside that one.
I don't know. I actually kind of like that about it. I don't know.
Well, so that's one title character, the snake girl. And then we have the silver-haired witch, who is creepy as all get out. I thought the snake girl was creepy. I thought the makeup was really simple but effective.
And I want to learn more about in the commentary they talked about characters, older women characters, or people with gray hair, kind of representing scary things or evil things in the culture and in history, mythology. Do you know anything about that, Brian? Or if there's lots of characters that are
not a lot, no.
So I was just wondering if there was like more to, the silver-haired witch. Why, I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, and they did say that was a common trope, even like in similar to Anibaba. So from there, we have the broken doll. I had to throw that in there too. Somehow or another, that doll ends up all broken. And then the hands.
Yeah, there's enough arm lift on those hands where I'm not scared of them.
Okay. Up to the elbow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that encounters too much there. And they're like hairy, and they're I can't remember. Does she kind of like throw them at her and they're laying on the ground, or how did that?
I think she's controlling them.
Seems like she kind of reached out at them, and then they fly through the air and are choking Sayuri.
Yeah. She has ejecto arms.
Ejecto
arms. Yeah. But again, that's a dream, right? So
yes. Part of the dream. She tried to kill me. These are just, I think, cool images from the movie. They're just going nuts. And then, so back to the Umezu was into these dreams and spirals and stuff, as was Yuasa. So there's all these dreams, and the dreams are all, there's no surprise. It's pretty obvious what's a dream. There's all these swirls and spirals and stuff. At one point, the doll comes alive. Giant sets of eyes. And I got another one here. Yeah.
Oh, the masks on the wall.
A little creepier. Yeah. And up at the top, I think that the snake girl is, what was she throwing snakes at her or something? Or what was the one where she throws the snake at her and it turns into a sword?
Yeah.
And then down here in the bottom where she kills the snake, Sayuri stabs it through. I don't know. I found those all.
I like the dream sequences. Yeah.
Me too. And then I think when she kills the snake, when she throws the sword at the snake, doesn't she dream that that's her sister? Like it turns into her sister?
Yeah.
I think so.
Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
I also like how the caretaker at first, well, you don't know what's going on, so she acts nice and sweet, but later on when you find out that she's really the silver-haired witch, it's like her face, the actor, their face is just more always like scowling and making faces similar to the mask, and you're just like, oh,
she's sort of nondescript at the beginning, right?
And then she's killing people and killing girls.
But that's what everybody calls the Scooby-Doo moment, right?
Yeah. That's very fair.
Go, what?
That's very fair.
and how, if you pay close attention, the only time there's magic is in the dreams, when she's just chasing around the basement and stuff. It's not no dream. Well, then a lot of cool images, and I don't have enough of all of it, but I mean, not much of a horror trope to set the house on fire, and it's kind of weird. It alternately to me looked like a miniature or like a raging inferno. I don't know if they were just really good at making that fire look good.
It did. It looked really hot.
Had a lot of experience working with making fire look good with miniatures in the kaiju movies. So yeah,
a couple of scenes of the house that they lived in. Remember, it showed it 2 or 3 times. The house, the moon was out and clouds were passing by the moon. Those are actually drawings.
Oh.
Or paintings, rather. And I don't know how they did maybe they were moving plates between the matte paintings or whatever they were. But I thought that was really, really cool, because if you're not paying attention, it's very realistic.
I didn't pick up on that. It was,
well, then the second picture down as well, I think that's when she's watching a fire, and her Shige's crafty scheme was to kill everybody except Tamami, who is sort of in her thrall. And so then they'll inherit the house and no house, but the whatever money there is from the parents. Was that the idea? She looks sinfully gleeful.
So happy.
Yeah.
Pure joy.
But alas. Then they go on this chase scene where Sayuri takes off and is it Tamami's chasing her? they run up the scaffolding. It's a great chase scene. It was, and I'm sure they had it rigged so it wasn't. Well, maybe I'm not sure. In 1968,
child endangerment wasn't a big deal back then.
It wasn't that dangerous for her, but it sure looked like, oh my God, she's running up this scaffolding and on the side, and then she gets up top, and then she's hanging, and she falls off and lands on a I don't know, kind of a little ledge thing sticking out.
That was rough too. Bodies falling from the sky.
Yeah, we see Tamami go down, and her mother tries to catch her and whacks her out too.
And when the other daughter was hanging on the scaffolding, and the caretaker was slamming her fingers with the giant wood. Oh my God, her little bloody pulp fingers. Just
that scene took forever.
3 cheers to her for holding on for that long.
All I could think of was, man, if somebody was cracking my hands with that,
exactly.
Let go. It would
Let
take
go
like
a long
2 or 3
time ago.
tries.
Yeah.
She got like 100 whacks and still hanging on.
And then the bottom picture then is when the mother wakes up and magically has her memory back, and now she's not.
Yeah.
She's okay, I guess.
Yeah.
So. And father comes home. They go into a little memorial ceremony for Tamami.
And that, to me, really, like this part in the hospital and stuff, that's where I really felt like, oh, is this a fairy tale? Because everything's fine at the end. Mom wakes up, everything's perfect, and
Did Shige get killed? The pseudo witch. I think she got captured by the police, didn't she?
I think so.
Demasked at the end. It's old Mrs. Shinji.
It's sort of like, yes, it had a and we'll live happily ever after thing. Oh, I'll accept the part where my sister died.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's okay because I could still be a good person.
My sister taught me to be a good person.
No, she didn't.
She's threatening to eat my hands.
Yeah. Well, because that's what's on the inside that counts.
That whole speech at the end was bullshit.
The cream filling in her hands. That what scene?
That whole speech at the end of Yamame.
I felt like it was like Scarlett O'Hara going, after all, tomorrow's another day. It was overly sweet, but I think, from talking to Joseph Perry, that's also a trope a lot in Japanese or Korean movies. There's always this heartfelt thing for the kid and this caring scene at the end. And anyway,
didn't buy it. She deserved everything.
I thought it was really interesting. I thought the music was really good. Do you know anything about the composer, Bryan?
Yeah. Shunsuke Kikuchi. He was an extremely prolific composer. He did a lot of Japanese sci-fi, fantasy, horror stuff, a lot of anime too. So he did just about, I think, most of, if not all, the music for all of the various Dragon Ball series. For Doraemon, which is something's more popular over there than it is here. Vanguard, Ace, Iron King, several Kamen Rider series, the Edogawa Rampo TV anthology horror series, all the Showa Gamera movies. He had over 300 credits. So yeah, a big deal composer over there.
They talked a little bit about the composer using repetitive parts of songs in the loops and stuff to kind of to get that feel in the movie. And I thought, oh yeah, that's right. That was totally the vibe in some of those scenes. Just the same thing happening over and over again in a dream sense.
And it looks like the cinematographer worked with him well on some of the Gamera movies. Maybe most of them. I'm not sure here.
And the cinematography in this is great. This, especially the scenes in the like the dream sequences or the stuff in the lab. Any time where it's very dark and there's a lot of shadows, it never looks murky. It's always very just like the shadows and the blacks are so rich and crisp.
Yeah, when she's trying to escape from the attic room and you see her on the roof, oh, that's just beautiful. I thought that was just beautiful. With the night sky behind her, she's shimmying down. Oh.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was very noirish. A lot of great shots of weird angles, looking down the stairs at people down in the foyer, I guess. And that house had multiple levels where they go up a few steps and into another level. So those are always interesting.
There's someone standing up high, looking down at you.
Right.
Looking up at them.
Or looking down through the hole in the floor or the ceiling. Boy, she wails on those spiders too, doesn't she? She just
she's not messing around.
Flap them all out of there. All right. Well, any other comments on this? I just thought this was really fun.
Good pick, Daphne. Good pick.
Thanks, Chad. I'm glad you didn't totally hate it.
Brian?
No, I think we covered everything I had.
Okie doke. Well, check it out. It's on Shudder. I also think it's on the Arrow channel and AMC Plus.
AMC, yeah.
Along with the yokai monsters. Check those out too. So let's move on to feedback. We got some feedback here, and I don't know why, but I just feel like we should finish off the feedback. We had 8 old ones, and then we have like maybe 4 new ones. Brian, can you see the feedback?
I can. Yep, I got the thing in front of me here.
So, Chad.
Yes.
Can you take the first one there, 141, The Creature Walks Among Us, from Jose Nicris?
Sure. Creature Walks Among Us. And Jose says, I have the Creature Blu-ray collection, but haven't watched this one, which says something. I recall the scene at the end when he picks the guy up and slams him down into the ground, which was pretty striking. I like this one because it's I agree with you. It's pretty forgettable. Nobody really remembers this one, but I liked it for being so different. Yeah. That's why I chose it. Not just that, because I wanted to finish off the Creature trilogy there, but it's one that I always
very underappreciated.
Yeah, it is. I appreciated where the storyline was trying to do and what the writers were trying to do with it. But yeah, it is one that's not very often remembered, and I thought it should be. That's all.
It's such a heartbreaking ending for that.
Yes,
for the Creature's story.
I think that's it. It's at first look, it's kind of off-putting because you see this bulky version of the creature that's not what you're used to, and but it's much more. You have a lot more empathy. As I use the new,
humans are monsters. Humans are monsters.
All right. Thanks for that one, Jose. And as we continue on the Jose train here, we're almost done here. 143, Diabolique. Daphne, you want to take that one?
Yeah. I found this on Criterion Laserdisc over 20 years ago. I watched it only once, but like it. I located the disc again 2 days ago and need to give it a rewatch. The only scene, oddly, that really stuck in my mind is the rotten fish dish. Well, that's a good scene.
That would stick in your mind, but I thought there were a lot of great scenes in there. Jose's our listener who has a video file. He's into the finer points of the video transfers and etc. So he had a lot of laser discs at one time and talks about things.
Always upgrading to the new technology.
Yeah, and something that he says stuff I don't understand about it. Brian, you want to take this next one on Fantastic Voyage, episode 146?
Yeah. Jeff, I'm with you on this one. I watch it at least once a year. The Blu-ray looks fantastic. See what I did there? I don't, because I don't know what he's talking about. But apparently I missed that episode. I first encountered scenes from this one in a TV special on Sci-Fi Films right before Christmas in 1976 or 77, and the white cells ingesting Donald Pleasance scared the hell out of me. I found Asimov's novelization in 1979 at the library and waited patiently to see the film, which finally occurred on Valentine's Day, 1983, in a Saturday morning matinee on a local station. The other film was The Nutty Professor.
Good combo.
Love it.
I remember being disappointed as the visuals didn't match what I had in my head, my imagination, but it stuck with me, and I've owned it on every home video medium since. The imagination on display is impressive, even if some of the science is wonky. And why is it exactly 1 hour? Asimov got around that by saying the duration of miniaturization depended on the extent, the smaller, the shorter the time. I would love to see this one in a theater with fellow fans. I think it would be a blast. James Brolin is in the film, the tiny role of a technician who hands the particle to Owens before the mission. Here's the particle, sir. All squared away, sir.
Yes, he is. Yeah, we did this as sort of a tribute to Raquel Welch. This was right after she passed away, about a year ago. All right. Appreciate that. I have a special affection for this one too. I saw it in the theaters, and it was, I can't really tell you why, but in my memory, it was a big deal, to go see that. Maybe because probably because I watched The Incredible Shrinking Man growing up on TV. And so to go see something else shrinking. Episode 149, X the Unknown, Chad.
This is also from Jose. This one is a longtime favorite for me as well. It's astoundingly well made for its budget. The cast is fantastic, and James Bernard's score wonderfully tense. This is a film I recommend to friends who think all 50s films are badly made and poorly acted. I recall seeing for the first time on cable in the early 90s. My father and I were big Hammer fans and found it one afternoon. My mother was in the kitchen working on some artwork and at one point asked, "What are you watching?" Even without seeing what's going on, I know the plot and the acting is good. She didn't care for sci-fi films, so that was a big moment. The title in Spanish, by the way, is Ex lo desconocido. Literally X the Unknown. Not literally, but because I have no idea what that word is.
Yeah, this was another one I saw when I was a kid, and that glowing stuff moving along, just that was a definite stuck in my mind.
Love that movie. Love it.
Daphne, Rosemary's Baby, 150.
I first saw this movie my first semester in college, fall of '87, while I was working at a little video store. One of the perks was to be able to take movies home free each night. That would have been awesome. I didn't quite get this one at the time. I think I was too young and had too little life experience. I saw it again a few years later, and then it made sense. The betrayal, the paranoia, and not knowing who to trust, and a mother fighting to protect her baby. Great film, great episode.
I too worked at a video store in college, and getting take home movies for free every night was awesome.
Awesome, I bet.
Well, I don't know. Daphne and I worked in bookstores. I don't know. When I worked at Walden Books, you could check out books two at a time, like it was a library.
Oh,
that's cool.
Couldn't do it at B. Dalton.
Oh, really?
No.
I always thought it was kind of weird because if I bought a book, I didn't want it to be used.
Yeah,
that is kind of weird.
But they looked at it as you'll be a better salesperson if you know more.
Yeah,
and they didn't want you to steal them either.
Yeah.
Well,
we got a discount, but we got a pretty good discount.
I worked at Walden Books too.
So, Brian, have you seen The White Reindeer?
I have not. Nor have I read about it in Phil Hardy's Encyclopedia of Horror. No, I am not familiar with it.
Episode 151, The White Reindeer. Go ahead and read that. Jose again.
I've only read about this one in Phil Hardy's Encyclopedia of Horror, where it was highly rated. Now I want. Now I want to see it. Thanks, all.
I wish you'd make your mind up, Brian.
It's a movie I saw on a best horror films, from Bloody Disgusting, or it was a couple different sites had a best horror film of each year. And one of them had this White Reindeer, which is
it was really good.
Film. It is so good. Yeah.
Wait, okay. Visually, you say it's a finished film. Is it in that Severin folk horror box set? I may have this one sitting on my shelf and just haven't got around to watching it yet.
It could be.
It's in public domain, I would imagine.
It could be.
In a Severin what?
The folk horror box set.
I don't know.
All the haunts be ours.
Oh, no, it is not. It's not.
Oh, it isn't?
Okay.
Huh.
It is available on a Eureka Masters of Cinema edition if you have a all region player.
I do. It's terrible for the wallet, but yes.
Yeah. When I finally found I could get that, I got it. I absolutely love it. It's very close to a silent film.
Okay.
But a creepy, living on the steppes in Finland, out in the middle of friggin' nowhere with all the snow and the reindeer and stuff. So anyway, it's pretty cool.
Also, a woman transforms into something. And,
would it be a reindeer?
Yeah,
it would.
So smart.
Can't get it.
I nothing past you, Brian. I knew it. Oh, I tried.
She's kind of a weird witch, weird reindeer vampire
witch.
Okay.
Weredeer.
Weredeer.
Weirdeer.
A vampire.
All right, episode 152, Il Demonio. That was Daphne's pick. Why don't you read that one, Daphne?
Okay. I never even heard of this one. We do have Shudder, so I think I have to have a look. I learn about new films on this channel.
That one is in that Severin box set, but I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, watch it.
That one's a good
one. It is. It is.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And if you think the spider walk from The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
When she walks down the stairs.
It
happened in this first in 1963, I think.
I'll have to bump that up to the top of the list for next weekend when I'm looking for a movie to watch. Every time I listen to the show and hear you guys giving Jeff grief for, yes, I have this Blu-ray, I'm like, I get it, Jeff, me too. I just have mountains of Blu-rays sitting in my living room.
Oh, so now we can say, Brian, watch this.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've got the DVD.
I don't have that many.
You've got the Blu-ray.
They gave me a hard time, and I think I looked it up, and I don't remember how many I had, but right away we had 2 or 3 listeners go, oh, I have 10,000. Oh, I have 8,000.
Oh, yeah. I would guess mine's somewhere in the 2 to 3 range. I definitely don't have 8 or 10.
I don't think I have 1,000 yet, but anyway. All right, Chad, you want to take 153? I was a teenage werewolf.
This is a tough one to find, as Nicholson's wife, I think it's her, holds the rights and hasn't released it for any kind of modern video format. We talked about that, I think.
Yeah, we did.
I saw it on TNT in the early 90s. I only remember an angry Michael Landon drool, Whit Bissell, and the upside down view from the girl on, I think, gym equipment.
Yes, that's all true. Everything in that is true. Yeah, Nicholson's wife has 8 or 9 of those,
and keeps them out of spite for Nicholson, basically, because he left her for the girl who played the ghost in the invisible bikini.
Oh,
that is a whole story.
I thought I had read something somewhere that he was. She had unreal expectations on how much she should get paid for the Blu-ray rights. Maybe she just gives it
that too. But I know he lost.
Well, if you don't really want to sell it, you can name a price. Yeah, hopefully, eventually. 154, The Wasp Woman. I don't know where we're at. Brian, I think.
It's me. Not one of Corman's best, but they are all worth watching. I like that one. But yes, they are all worth watching. I think I saw it on TNT's Totally Weird in the early 90s. I remember thinking how phony the old age makeup on Cabot looked. I have the outrageously expensive, crummy-looking and out-of-print retro media Blu-ray with Beast from Haunted Cave as a co-feature. Dig that mask and the drooling Hershey's syrup.
There was some, I think, wasn't it Susan Cabot that we found all that really weird information about her later in life?
I think so.
Yeah.
You'll
have to look that up. I'm not going into it now from memory. All right, now we're back to kind of up to date here. Episode 173, the H-Man. Chad from Daniel.
Daniel says, "Great to see my friend
Navarez. Sorry,
whatever his name is. This is what he had to say." Great to see my friend Chris talk about this 50s B sci-fi movie. Okay.
You forgot that other line. I'm glad that guy Chad wasn't on that. No.
Did he?
Ouch.
No. I'm used to that kind of.
A friend of Chris's. Yes. Excellent. And from Mikey Z. Daphne.
Drippy and trippy Honda story involving nuclear fallout. Jeff, Doc, Daphne, and guest Chris examine this Japanese blob-like tale that has a certain liquidity about it. J-horror meets J-noir meets late 50s J-pop mixed with J-police procedural. Walking in sewers and horror seem to be the cinematic rage after The Third Man. So many films ended there, from them to The Indestructible Man suggestion to this one. Great job by the Grue-Crew and Jeff's mini-me, Jose Luis, aka Chris, or whatever alias you prefer. Funny he doesn't look anything like Jennifer Gardner.
Guess you had to be
alias. Alias.
Oh, yeah. Alias. Got it. Okay.
Okay.
It took me a while too. I was trying to go. Oh,
sorry, Mikey.
You're reaching.
That movie's awesome. I love that flick.
It is. It is. It's great. That was a cool thing about having guests on, because a lot of them pick stuff that we'd always been thinking about, but nobody ever pulled the trigger on. So it was fun to go see those. Episode 174, King of the Zombies. Have you seen that one, Brian?
I have not, no. But Mikey Z apparently has. And he says, Jeff, thanks for the chills and thrills plug. You are a prince, along with the Princess Daphne and the Wizard Doc. Great to see Scott on the classics after his trek on the 80s. A strange 40s trip to Zombie World with Mantan Moreland supplying comic relief. Henry Victor from Freaks plays the zombie master. Loquaciousness abounds on this classic episode.
There's awful big words there, Mikey.
I know. He's writing our blog copy. Maybe I should just let him write the blog. It'd save me a bunch of time.
Nobody will be able to read it. They won't know what these words are.
Yeah, you can't use those big words like
the loquaciousness of that guy.
I appreciate it though. That's actually true. I mean, the zombies have very little to do with a whole lot of anything, but Mantan Moreland is a comic genius. I think it's fun. It's only about an hour, so. And then finally, Chad from Jose, King of the Zombies.
Monogram and PRC. I've not even heard of this one, but Yarborough's The Devil Bat is a little delight. It was the very first DVD I ever bought. Really? As a double feature with the awful Scared to Death. I picked up the Blu-ray of The Devil Bat recently. It is a cheap film, but better than most Poverty Row films, and Lugosi just seems like he's having a lot of malicious fun.
Devil Bat's a fun movie, and I'm sure we will cover that at some point.
A lot of those Poverty Row films with Lugosi were I like them a lot.
Yeah, it was a blast. There's an even cheaper version of that movie called The Flying Serpent, where Lugosi is replaced by George Zucco, and it's this weird little creature that's supposed to be Quetzalcoatl instead of a bat. But
so, yeah, I've got a Blu-ray of Devil Bat sitting here somewhere, probably right next to Killdozer. All right. Well, we appreciate that. And we are all caught up on feedback now. I don't have any back feedback on the classic era. So you guys have been letting Jose do all the heavy lifting for a while. So please, we love comments. Tell us what your experience was with the movie, what we forgot, what you liked, what you don't like, and even suggestions. We may get to them. If Mikey quits sending them, we got, if all we did was Mikey's these recommendations, it would last like a year, I think. Some of them have several marks next to them where he's brought them up 2 or 3 times. So we love you, Mikey. And I got your last message, which I'll talk to the crew about here. So plenty of ways to stay in touch. Please send feedback to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com, or better yet, just comment on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube page, or in Gruesome Magazine's H&R and DOH podcast Facebook group, or even on the website. There's places to make comments. And we really do appreciate it. That's how we get to know you guys. And actually, consider it an audition. If you leave enough comments, we'll ask you if you want to join us sometime. That's it for this episode, but every 2 weeks we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1920 and 1969. Next up, chosen by Chad,
we're going to go into Coffin Joe territory. And we're going to do Tonight I'll Possess Your Corpse, a.k.a. This Night I'll Possess Your Corpse, a.k.a. Tonight I Will Enter Your Corpse, a.k.a. Esta Noite Incarnare no Tu Cadaver, something like that. But anyway, and this is the second in the Coffin Joe trilogy between At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul and Embodiment of Evil, which I wish they had the first one. We could do that one first.
Is it that? I think that's there.
Is it? I don't remember finding that one. I found
okay.
They've got a 3 on there, I think, and the other one is
one is the anthology film.
Yeah, the anthology,
right, that he hosts.
Yeah, maybe, but we'll see. But anyway, we're gonna do that one, and hopefully,
because that's what we do. We never do stuff in order,
right?
Although we are doing Blind Dead in order, just like years apart. we have finally reached number 3 after like 8 years.
So you got a long way to go to get to the best one, which is the last. Well, I think it's the best one. I love this.
Yeah. We'll probably do that one sooner, just to get over. No, I like the Blind Dead. All right, Coffin Joe, and actually I watched the other one not too long ago, and I was totally freaked out. It's crazy. It makes no sense at all, but it is the eeriest. He knows how to be creepy. I don't know how else to say it.
This will be the first time I'm watching it in English, I think.
Oh, okay. Is it? All right.
I don't know.
Catch us again here in 2 weeks. Thanks again, Brian. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
Brian had like 2 days notice. I was hoping the content would get him past that, although he did like going. Brian likes to do lots of research, so giving him only 2 days is hard on.
Yeah, it's great.
I've joined us to come back for something not Japanese sometime. I do watch other movies.
I'm sure you do. But you know more than most of the people I know about this stuff. Doc knows tons about Gamera, I know, but he's seriously, he's doing family stuff, and that's important, right? Catch us again here in 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the classic era, as only decades of horror can do it. I want your sister's email address, Daphne. Say good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.